Welcome back to... Kai's back? Too late for a title charge? Yes, it is. 2 games. 2 games before I put 24-25 in a bin marked painful Arsenal memories do not open, alongside the 2011 Carling Cup final, Denis Suarez's loan spell, and when I paid £9 for a flaky sausage roll that burned my mouth at the Emirates. And just like me with my financial and culinary choices after that debacle, right now the Arsenal sphere is in deep reflection on what was, what is, and what might be. We have a huge task ahead to ensure this project doesn't go another year without bearing fruit. And while I do think we have a lot to be positive about, right now, to be totally honest, I am a bit worried. This window feels, we say it every time, it's a big window, but I really don't think there has been a more potentially pivotal window than the one coming up. So much to get to over the course of the summer. So if you're new here, stick around. And I'm conscious in this heightened state of not saying anything too rash while I'm obviously still coming to terms with this season. But this conversation, for those of you who know me and who can read between the lines, you'll know, has been bubbling for a long time. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to call for Martinelli's head. I'm not here to bash him. I'm not here to rant. If you want that, there's other channels out there. I just want an open, honest discussion about a player that goes beyond player good, player bad. So you're saying you hate Martinelli? Yeah. I was recently on Saturday Social and was asked to do a stay or go for the entire Arsenal squad. If you're interested, here's my final list. Feel free to pause, have a look through and abuse me in the comments because you think Norberto Neto has been unfairly treated or something. I'd like to think it's a generally understandable list. Perhaps you disagree on my Partey or Jesus takes. Maybe you'd sell someone that I kept. Fine, all debatable. But I think the only one that requires a bit more padding is this one. I put Gabriel Martinelli in go. Now, before some of you get your knickers in a twist, the reality is a lot more complicated. There's context and conditions to any potential sale. A lot depends on how the market shakes out, what we do around him, and there's a whole range of situations where I'd still keep Martinelli. This is all performance-based, and new information will lead to new opinions. Usual TDK caveat coming, I don't want to be right on a talent, I want to win. But the terms of the game were binary. Saturday Social didn't have time for my, well, maybe, no, no, stay or go. And I hate this. I hate having to question a player. So why go? And more importantly, is this really about Martinelli? It must be very bizarre to be a footballer in this era. You can take out a device from your pocket, search your name, and watch unqualified people like myself spending hours of their day talking about buying and selling you like your cattle, trading you like Pokemon in imaginary games between their friends, debating your last name's value in millions of, to them, imaginary, inaccessible pounds. We forget, but these are real people we're talking about. That is just the nature of the beast, and it's not worth rallying against too hard, but I think it's good to remind ourselves from time to time. It makes me laugh when people say the human side of football, as if there's a non-human side. But observing and being part of, frankly, that kind of detached culture makes me wonder if we're very good at understanding where the human side fits in to our analysis, specifically when it relates to fans. We'll die on a hill to defend or chastise a player. We'll find clips to back up what we believe is the right opinion without ever questioning if there is something a bit deeper driving all that energy. Because forget the Martinelli debate for a second. What if there are players who you do just get attached to a bit more? What if there are some players whose story at your club makes it very hard to see them with clear eyes? What if the debate can't just be stats and logic and you're not thinking straight? To do good analysis, we have to be willing to ask ourselves difficult questions. Gabriel Martinelli, the little boy from Guarulhos, Sao Paulo, which I've definitely pronounced correctly, thank you, turned man in North London. After arriving at Arsenal in the summer of 2019 from Ituano, 223 appearances, 51 goals and 29 assists later, there's no doubting Martinelli's credentials as an established Premier League and international player. We've had some incredible memories. That brace in the EFL Cup in his first season, that Chelsea goal, the 22-23 season where he became the joint highest Brazilian scorer in a Premier League season, the late winner at the Bernabeu, and so on. When Martinelli scores, Arsenal win. 45 times to be exact, the outright record at Arsenal. I don't want anyone to be under any illusions about what I think of Martinelli as a player and a person. I think he's an extraordinary, diligent, brilliant footballer who deserves to be playing top-level football. I hope, to be clear, it all works out, and that's at Arsenal. But the margins at Arsenal are becoming finer and finer. We are a few missed chances away from UEFA Champions League finals. We're open nets away from Premier League titles. We could take the perspective, well, you don't need much then. Why tinker with it? But to me, yes, we must proceed with caution and be careful not to ruin what got us here. But the real job of turning margins in your favour is going even deeper into those 1% and 2% to make it impossible for them not to go your way. For Arsenal in 25-26 and moving forward, if we are as serious as we say we are about winning, then unless you are the very best we can get on and off the pitch, you have to be up for debate. It's not disrespect. It's simply the conversation we need to be having at this point if we want this project to bear fruit. That goes for everyone. We're talking about Martinelli today, but there's others we'll come to. And just from a pure numbers perspective, firstly, there is undebatably room for growth on that side. I don't think undebatably is a word. Let me have it. Martinelli has 16 goal contributions in 49 appearances in 24-25 or 3,403 minutes this season. That's a goal contribution once every 212 minutes. Especially in the absence of Havertz and Saka, that's not enough from a senior player. In our UEFA Champions League run, he scored 2 goals in 13 appearances, and in the Premier League, he's now scored only 2 Premier League goals since January, and no goal contributions in the EFL Cup or FA Cup. He was injured, yep, but let's not overrate that. He nearly has 50 appearances this season and has only missed 4 games. He actually missed more games last season. Does some of that change with, say, a better centre forward next to him, not playing right wing, with Saka on the pitch? Absolutely. I'm just giving you numbers. 23-24 was 13 GA in 44 appearances or 2,640 minutes, making it a goal contribution once every 203 minutes, marginally better, ironically, than 24-25. In terms of the deeper stuff, here's Martinelli's numbers compared to attacking midfielders and wingers, courtesy of Scott Willis. Deep touches and progressive carries, Martinelli excels. I'd say some of that's to do with Arsenal's system, to be fair. When Arsenal have all the field tilt and do most of their progression up the sides, you have to caveat. But his XG per shot is also very good. Perhaps for a shot-heavier team, that would change, but he chooses his shots well. Otherwise, he's just pretty middle of the road. Middle of the road-ish for non-penalty XG, open play shots, pass efficiency, progressive passes, deep completions, open play expected assists, dribbles completed, turnovers, defensive actions, and goal probability added. It's just pretty average. And Martinelli's 24 next month. He also, to me, doesn't feel like that kind of guy who drags you through games. And that is a concern. Now, is this his ceiling, or is this a malfunctioning system that doesn't work for him? The perennial question. Let's go deeper. I've done countless videos, podcasts, and posts about how I think we can fix Martinelli in the past. Overall take, we've spoken about getting him more central touches, possibly getting Odegaard further over to the left to slip balls into him, maybe getting an overlap on the left from a fullback or a midfielder, and so on. We've seen where Martinelli is at his most effective. It's in the middle. I have absolutely zero doubt Martinelli would take a leap up if we played him more centrally. At the moment, I think one of his biggest issues is that he's asked to get from the touchline inside multiple times a game, and he just isn't particularly suited to that. He's good, but not elite 1v1, which you can see in his successful take-on numbers, and his pace, for me, is best utilised over long distances, not necessarily straight off the mark with a 5-yard burst like a Leao or an Mbappe, which helps when you're wide. I've long had issues with where he accesses the box, going down alleys and getting shown wide, but I don't blame him massively for all this, because I just don't think he's really suited. It's like asking Declan Rice to take it on the half turn and play an eye-of-the-needle pass. Why? Just get him doing the things he's good at. A lot of this is on Mikel. Please don't think I'm blind to that. But say, though, we built him the perfect environment for him. We think we would see Martinelli's performances and numbers jump up. Okay, we don't know that, but I'll go with that for a second. There is still a more important question here, in my opinion. Should we build around him? Theoretically, you could build around anyone, but the very best players in the world thrive no matter the circumstance. High touches, low touches, pressed, not pressed, inside, outside, in behind, 1v1, breaking down low blocks. They've got answers for every game state. They add noticeable, don't have me poring over niche expected threat maps for one game week to see, value. Saka, Yamal, Van Dijk, Pedri, Salah, Rodri, Rice, Vinny. You know who I mean. For me, those are the guys you build systems around, because then the system doesn't become limited. Because you're building around them, it can stretch to anything. Supporting Martinelli to hide his limitations isn't the same as building the team around him, I hear you say. And I get that. But everything is a balance. There's a trade-off for everything. Getting an overlapping left back for Martinelli because he struggles out to in changes who our left back is. It changes how we overload the middle. It changes our quality and build-up. It likely decreases our defensive security. To maximize it, we probably need a target type centre forward, and that's expensive, so on and so on. Martinelli not on the touchline because he's not amazing 1v1, pushes Rice further back. It changes our counter-pressing and rest defence. It limits Declan's influence, which is something that won us those 2 games against Madrid. Do we want to lose that? More touches for Martinelli is less touches for Bukayo Saka, and so on. You can't platform everyone. That's not how football works. So why not build around those with less limitations? Martinelli doesn't need to be the very best player in the world to contribute. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, when you have a player who needs specific circumstances to thrive, think very carefully about building around them. I know some people will comment that Martinelli looked good down the middle against Liverpool. Yeah, he did. But it was 1 half and about 3 runs. We were chasing a game against one of the highest lines in Europe. It's a lovely header, but let's chill. He suited that running in behind, and I love that option and want to keep it somehow, Martinelli or otherwise, but teams aren't used to us doing that, and they don't prepare for that. Do I believe we have the next coming of Erling Haaland in training every day and we're just not using him? Even if you do, it's a gamble. In 6 seasons at the club, he's played there just a handful of times. Either a great many people have got something very, very, very wrong, or we're overrating something we haven't yet seen. And I always say, Occam's razor or Schrodinger's cat, whatever it is, the most simple answer is usually the one. I also can't forget how many big moments Martinelli should have buried this season. I'm looking for it a bit, I can't lie, because it's annoyed me. But if he is this instinctual, ruthless finisher we all think he is, then wouldn't he be burying that chance against PSG or against Newcastle or against Atalanta? If you think I'm cherry picking, fine. But, and we're excluding defenders because there's more otherwise, why is his shot conversion rate below Marino, Partey, Waneri, Havertz, and way below plenty of others in the league? When you look at his numbers more widely, 22-23 is beginning to look more like an exception to the rule rather than the rule itself. Arteta always evolves the team, but I can't see Miles moving, I can't see Declan moving, and I can't see Calafiori and Marino moving on. I can't see a massive evolution on that left-hand side, just personally. So if the talent isn't worth building around, the team isn't really suited to him, and I can't see it changing, then we're in a bit of a checkmate. Okay, important question, and something that probably a lot of you are thinking. Why can't we keep Martinelli, but not necessarily start him? He suits specific game states. He is brilliant in the right context. Totally agree. We look at the likes of City stacking their squad with talent, and that's who we're competing with. We need depth. Fair enough. That may be the answer, and we can end it there. If we can keep Martinelli, get him on a new contract, layer on top, keep everyone happy, great. But then we come to a different aspect of this debate, reality. Arsenal have a lot to do this summer. I always say there's a difference between things you have to do, things you want to do, and things you'd like to do. But it is arguable that we need a backup goalkeeper, maybe a third goalkeeper, depending on Hine or Porter or Setford and so on, a right-sided defender if Tommy can't stay fit, a left-sided defender if Zinchenko, Tierney, and maybe Kivior go, another DM after Zubimendi if Partey leaves, a creative midfielder dependent on Vieira and Waneri, a proper centre-forward, and another wide player. And that's before any surprise exits, further sales, or any market opportunities. Again, I don't think we will need or will do all of that. My point is there are potential needs everywhere. I'll do all my summer transfer window stuff soon, but let's say you did, I don't know, and very, very roughly, because a lot of these prices are complete estimates. Joan Garcia for 25 million, Maxime de Kuyper for 30 million, Lucien Agume for 30 million, Benjamin Sesko for 80 million, and Nico Williams for 60 million. That's 225 million before we even talk about wages for those new guys, or the contract renewals with increased wages for the likes of Saliba, Gabriel, and Saka. Not quite how it works. You amortise payments, but you get my point. Arsenal don't have a single player other than Havertz in the top 10 best paid players in the Premier League, according to Capology, and our star guys getting new deals will want to be on the very high 200s, if not into the £300,000 per week when they renew. And rightly so, by the way. Money doesn't grow on trees, and the best estimates say that our PSR position is good, but there's some reports we've got less to spend than we thought. Regardless, I find it very, very hard to imagine that Andrea Berta and his team aren't looking at the squad and thinking, how do we raise some funds here? And you know where I'm going with this. There's only a few candidates who could probably raise some big money. Tell me who else at Arsenal has a high market value, is the right side of 25, is in an area of the pitch that is due a revamp, isn't necessarily the first name on the team sheet, and is in a contract situation where probably it's renew or sell time. There might be some out there saying, what, keeping Trossard but selling Martinelli? What? But it's not a 1v1 battle. We're doing squad building. And Martinelli's sale, something that I think we could absolutely facilitate to a team who play more transitionally, where he would cook, by the way, could get us far, far more than for a 30-year-old Trossard with a year on his deal. Trossard also covers multiple positions across the front three and in midfield, is reliable, pretty clutch for that sort of impact role, has experience, and is also probably more suited to being a rotation option. Trossard on the bench for a year, at least, on new terms supposedly, the value's probably similar-ish. Martinelli now versus a year on the bench later with 1 year to go on his deal, probably half the price, if not less. Right now, I don't know who you get. As I say, it depends how the market shakes out. Nico Williams, Joao Pedro, Rodrigo. I don't know. Maybe he stays. I'm not saying definitely do it. Maybe if you can't get the right guy, don't move him on. He is brilliant. I want to keep him in the squad if we can. Martinelli on a new deal plus Rodrigo, my word. But there is reality. To get off the fence, here's the situation I would sell Martinelli in. He won't sign a new contract. We have an offer of over £60 million on the table from a non-rival, and we are signing at least another first-team wide player. I don't think that's a crazy list, to be honest. I hate this. You can probably tell. I don't like selling players. I don't like talking about them like they're cattle. They're human beings. And this human being has done a huge amount for the club we love. But, and I know it's a bit cliche, but I do quite like this thought experiment. What if we signed Martinelli last summer? For the sake of argument, he had a silly surname like Moneypenny, was from a country without such a rich footballing history as Brazil. He played number 56 and had a terrible haircut. Would we be trying as hard to keep him around? Be honest. George on the Cannon podcast said this perfect, and I want everyone to take this into the summer. Arsenal need in general to stop squinting to see talent. Proper talent hits you in the face. There are arguments that make Martinelli make sense. Of course there are. I know we joke about it, but if you watch this and think I can't see what he does out of possession, or I think he's just a total bum, I'm sorry, you are not listening. Get him an overlap, get him central, give him time. He's been injured, sign him competition, not replacement. He's still young, but you're squinting. We don't have these conversations about Saka or Rice or Saliba or whatever. So if an offer comes, he has to be on the table. We're competing with Rodrigo, Marmoush, Rafinha, Vinny Jr., Salah, Elise. Is he at that level? Is Martinelli the best option, or do we just want him to be? Here's the kicker. What's really driving this? We all love him. That is what's driving this, in my opinion. That's what's driving this reluctance to move on. That's what I think has bought him, frankly, a lot of patience. Would I be working as hard to try to understand how to help him for the last 2 years if I didn't love him? Would I give him as much patience as I do for how hard he works for my club, how much he clearly loves Arsenal? If Martinelli suddenly becomes the player we all want him to be, you can come back to this video and laugh at me. Please do. I'll be happy because he's good. And I think I picked Go kind of for similar reasons. It's not necessarily logical. I'm frustrated. I want him to be good, and it annoys me that he isn't. But wanting someone to be good isn't enough now. Maybe he goes, maybe he stays. It depends what's out there. It depends what happens. But it has to be on the table. And we have to admit what's really driving a lot of this, I think. There's something much bigger here. This is a conversation about what we're willing to do to win. Are we ready to kill our darlings, to recognize what is really driving discourse and put it aside to get over the line? This isn't about selling Martinelli, really. This is about who Arsenal want to be. Thanks so much for watching. If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon and get ad-free early access to each video for just £3 a month. Or for one-time support, you can buy us a coffee. Links are in the description.